Jarvis is on his way. Is it okay?
We're going to approve
Jarvis
those
is on
minutes.
his
Can I
way.
just
He
tell that?
texts.
I
But
don't
we're
want
gonna
Alice
go
to
ahead.
recognize it.
We're gonna go ahead and get started, everybody.
She said, would you like
We
to
still
see
talking.
something?
I don't know if the
And I
mic
said,
system
"Oh,
is.
you want me or something, I'll pass it off, but whatever y'all want me to do.
Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, well,
I don't have a gavel, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. Jarvis texts and he's on his way. So I officially call the meeting to order pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Please take notice that decisions of the Nashville Public Library Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. And pursuant to TCA 84412, time is reserved at the beginning of the library board meetings for which there is an actionable item on the agenda for public comment germane to items on the agenda. Up to 5 people will be allowed up to 3 minutes each to speak. Speakers must register within 1/2 hour prior to the beginning of the meeting by signing their name on a physical sign-up sheet available at the entrance and identifying any agenda item on which they intend to comment. Did we have anybody to sign up today?
I don't think so. Maria would have said something.
Maria?
She went to go
Oh, okay.
get some copies.
Okay, so if not, we'll jump back to that. But we have the minutes. Oh, chair comments. I just want to thank everybody who came out to the Begin Bright reception at Giotta's. We had a really, really good turnout for the board, and we had a chance to meet people there, donors, potential donors. And since that time, we all heard on television that the mayor is committing $1 million. Well, he's asking for a commitment to $1 million to Begin Bright, which really is a significant partner for us to have with the city. And that means that all of council will be backing us in this endeavor too. So thank you for everybody for coming out. It was a great event, really great event. I don't know anything else that has happened. Good. Thanksgiving passed, and I'm so thankful for all of you. Thankful for taking the time. This takes a lot of time. People don't really realize. I know somebody asked me once, how much do you get paid to be on the library? I said, ha, 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 is exactly what I said. You do that for free? They thought I had changed jobs. I said, no, it's a job, but it's not one for which you get paid. So they changed their minds about wanting to be on a city board. Yeah, they were trying to ask me for help getting appointed to city board. I told them it doesn't work like that. Anyway, but I'm thankful for all of you because time is your most valuable asset to me. And you give that time to the library and just to do the right thing for the library. So thank you so much. So the minutes are in your packet. Do you have, we were at Luby. Any additions, corrections?
I'll move passage so that if anybody has to,
Okay.
they can do it.
Motion on the floor to approve minutes. Second. Kate and Katie, we're doing it between bites. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. All opposed? Minutes passed unanimously. Terry?
You have the board retreat minutes too.
Oh, the board retreat minutes.
Sorry.
Yes.
That's
and
why
we're going
it's
to
so
talk
thick
about
today.
those later. Okay, yes. I didn't see that. So beginning on page 10, and it looks like a lot, and it was a lot, but 8:30 to 4 is a long time. And so, but we have the summary. I'm a visual person. We have the summary that we're going to talk about later on, but this is the official written minutes that you will be approving. And then can we make sure that when this will be the official record, but we might want this to be a part of the record too, so people can take a look and see as an addendum or whatever, a link to it somewhere, I don't know.
Well, we have it in the packet, and then all the board members received it in an email, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, motion to approve minutes from our retreat.
So moved.
Kate,
So moved.
thank you.
Second.
Second, Nadine, second. Any discussion?
Ed Burgess was terrific.
What'd you say?
Ed Burgess was terrific.
Ed McGee.
McGee, Ed
sorry.
McGee, yes, and I'll talk to you about that.
Ed McGee.
Ed Burgess, I
We
was
got
trying
church
to.
with Ed Burgess. Exactly. Okay, he's a nice man too, but.
Yes. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from our retreat, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Minutes approved. Ed was wonderful. And again, I have thanked him. I sent him a note. And Ed is under tremendous stress because he had come to the university as a strategist, but now he's been appointed Chief Operating Officer of the College of Medicine. So he was putting a lot in place over there, but he still fulfilled his commitment to come to us. And we've been singing his praises, and people have been asking him to help them. He says no. He's saying a firm no to everybody, but he's still committed to helping us get through this process. And yeah, he's great. And he has also been selected as a presidential fellow. So a presidential fellow will be, they work under, it's a program that all of the former presidents have. It's regardless of party. So it's everybody, Bush, Clinton, Obama. He's been selected from among all the applicants in the country to be a presidential fellow, and they get an opportunity to work on an important issue. They have to work on a project that's important to the country. Yes. So I think he's choosing what's happening with men in the country, you know, and boys, how to get to boys and men to help make them flourish.
And he spent a tremendous amount of time with me before we actually had the retreat. So he and I had at least 5 meetings, starting all the way back in July. And before I said, Ed, let's do this together, I said, how much will this be? And he actually said, I have an incredible library story. I wouldn't be where I am today except for the library. And so he said, if you all would just make a donation to the Boys and Girls Club, and he did not receive anything personally for doing that amount of work, and it was incredible. So,
Yes.
okay.
So, Terry.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I just want to highlight about 5 things. The first is that Larry Jarek has been overseeing NECAT since Lee Booley resigned. He is doing an incredible work, and so I want to thank him for that. And Cameron also. Cameron is the NECAT manager. He is here with us today because in your board report, I let you know that Larry and Cameron submitted a proposal to me probably back in September about changing the hours at NECAT. And I attached to the board report for you, there's multiple reasons why we are doing that. Mostly it is to align NECAT with the hours that we're only, as NPL, stay open as late as 8 o'clock. They were staying open until 10 o'clock. And so by adjusting these hours, this will give the 3 staff members that work there overlapping time to help people people in the studio. They did a lot of work. They polled their customers and members to make sure that this was something that they wanted. And the other thing is to have somebody on campus until 10 o'clock at night and walk to their car by themselves, even though there's security on the campus. We were nervous about that. So Cameron is here if you have any questions about the change. When NECAT came over to the library, we received 3 staff members. When it was at ITS, it had 5. And so we are covering that amount of hours with only 3 people. And so people, when someone's sick, when someone needs to take a vacation, it's really difficult to be able to do that. So that's why I approved that they would be able to reduce the hours starting January 1. I did take it to the leadership team, who also approved it as well. So Cameron is here if you have any questions for him. And I'll be back in January or February to talk about the future plans for where NECAT will be located and on the extension of the lease with Nashville State. But for right now today, we wanted to make sure you had time to do the exercise from the retreat. So anybody have a question for Cameron? Is there anything I missed that you'd like
I
to
would just
say?
say thank you for having me, for giving us this opportunity. NECAT is showing a lot of growth inside of Nashville Public Library. We've been really excited on a personal level, and just from the patrons that come through our doors, everyone is really excited about everything that's happening at the library. So I want to thank the board especially just for giving me time today and just for always looking out for us. We really do see you doing that work.
Yeah, and since Larry's come on board and working with Cameron, they've come up with a 1-year plan to increase programming. As a matter of fact, last Friday with the Christmas tree lighting, that was actually live streamed on NECAT. So they're doing a lot. I'm really looking forward to everything that they'll be able to do now that they have this opportunity to have less hours. But again, there was in your email from me, there's all the documentations for why.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Madam Chair? Point it this way. This isn't a question of whether we should or shouldn't, but it did raise a question to me of what's the traffic like in the evenings there? I mean, how many people do we have in the studio?
It's dependent on shows. We do live broadcasts with a live studio audience. Like a couple Saturdays ago, we had about 50 people there for a live show. But whenever there's just a normal day-to-day, someone's coming in, it may be 2 to 6 people that are coming in to record their actual episode of their television show, just small crews and things like that. What we noticed when we started polling the hours is that last hour that there usually wouldn't be anybody there because we book in a 5-hour block, and so they would use it for the first 4 hours, but that last hour we really weren't seeing a lot of people for traffic in that point.
Thank you. That's what I assumed, but thanks.
So there's always at least one studio technician that is there to operate the studio, and then the people that come through and take the NECAT classes, they also produce their shows. So they ask for volunteers. So once those people have gone through the training, you may have a dozen people come in to work on one show, where you may have just one producer and one staff member that is putting together a show on another one. It really is show to show. But I would say on average, it's about half a dozen people that are in.
Any other questions on NECAT?
Thank you, Cameron.
Okay.
So the second thing I wanted to give you an update on is our continuous improvement plan. That Nadine had been working with us to make sure that we knew how to do a SWOT, how to do the survey, and she met with the library managers to make sure that they had an opportunity to ask questions and to also learn the process. So like I said last time, we were really grateful that over 200 staff members actually took the survey, because it was a very detailed survey when you're asking all the questions about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So recently, within the last 2 weeks, managers have participated in, and this is 40 to 50 people are in our management group. They participated in very meaningful conversations about how to improve customer service at NPL in 2025. This was based on the ideas and the feedback that we received in the staff survey. We had 9 priority areas that were identified throughout the survey, but we knew that we had to get that more manageable down to 2 or 3 because we can't do everything in a year. So when we did that, the managers voted, and internal communications, staffing, and the third one is identifying and prioritizing NPL key programs and services. Those received the most votes. Everybody had 3 green dots, and that we counted the dots, and that's how we came up with it. So after sorry.
What do you mean by staffing?
So staffing in that, how many staff are in the branches, how many are at Maine, what can we do to improve? Training came up as part of that. So they gave us a lot of ideas on improving staff morale, all of those type of things. So
broad. Okay.
which then leads, because people will say, well, what does that have to do with customer service? Well, what it has to do with is if your staff isn't happy, that your customers aren't happy because they, you want to make sure that they have what they need in order to provide that crucial service. And if we don't have enough staffing or our hours may not be right, then we need to hear what they have to say so we can move forward. So in listening to the managers, one of the things that came out of this was, in order for us to identify and prioritize our key programs and services, we need to hear from the public first. And so we selected staffing and internal communications to move forward in 2025. And in 2025, hopefully in the spring, we're already planning to do a customer service survey. And then once we hear back from our customers and then put that together with what we've heard from managers and staff, then that will give us a better idea about what are our priorities, because Nashville Public Library can't continue to offer this plethora of services and programs if we don't have the staffing to be able to do that. So our focus is to really say, what is it that we should be and can be doing? And that's why it's critical for us to get feedback from our customers. So from here, the admin team will review the suggested action items, and then we will create a 1-year plan, and then that will go out to the staff so that they know what that is and can help us to achieve the plan. We're probably just a little bit behind. We really wanted to start January 1 of 2025, but we need to make sure that I always say, Sherry always says to me, we don't want to just check it off the list. We need to take our time and really be sure that we're doing this the best that we can do. So we're gonna make sure that it is that, and probably may just not start right on January 1, but we are in a really good place with our outline of dates that we originally set out for ourselves. So any questions about continuous improvement plan?
Any questions?
Great.
The dean, do you want to say anything? The dean has given so much time to this, but we want to thank her for sharing her expertise with staff, because this is her area at Vanderbilt. You want to talk? What's her say? Everything?
I didn't want to chat and chew, but I would just say that I just look forward to the continuous communication to know how do we define the terms that you just mentioned, and I know that you just defined them here, but what does it look like to maybe put that out there in a more central way, and I'm sure that you've already done that, but just to get updates to see where we are, and also to note that it's a continuous improvement model, which means that you can pivot as you see fit. As landscape changes, no one prepared for COVID, and COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And this is why the continuous improvement model works really well, where there's space and time to always reposition and recalibrate when we realize, okay, this no longer fits because the context changed, right? And so just keep that in mind, that while we have created, the different priorities, create space for maybe the things that aren't planned for, and just be, prepared to pivot when necessary.
And I really wanted to I sent an email to staff to say how much I appreciated the number of people that participated, but also the thoroughness with which, because we said, please just don't use one word. And so not only did they identify things that they wanted us to think about, but they also gave us action items that went along with that. So we're, I think, in a good place to be able to put together, this is, our priority going forward, and these are the action items. And then as part of this process, we will review quarterly. One of the things that Nadine, made sure that I knew was that we want to be able to celebrate along the way too. So when we achieve some of these key action items, then we'll be sure that we do that. So. Okay, so some budget items. The admin team, we have been talking about we're already preparing for our operating budget for next year. So we will identify and have been identifying what we will move forward to request in the mayor's operating budget. And so some of it is carried over from last year because of the fact that it was a flat budget year for Metro as a whole. We still don't know what the budget year is going to look like moving forward with the new administration at the national level starting in January. So we have to be thinking about that. But we're in a good place for getting Susan the information that she needs in order to complete all the budget paperwork. With capital spending plan, Mayor O'Connell's latest capital spending plan recommendation included $3,460,000 for major maintenance and repair projects. And Susan already sent back to the mayor's office what those projects look like because they wanted an itemized list. And a lot of them are here at Maine because Maine also needs a new roof in addition to some things downstairs on the first floor as you enter. And then we received another $5 million to complete the design and development phase of the Hadley Park branch, but also begin construction. So that doesn't finish it for us, but it's good news in that commitment once we it's one thing to do design development, but then it's another thing to move forward to start construction. So as we know more, we'll bring it forward. Susan is also working with Green Hills Library staff, Jenna, and the Green Hills manager. That will be our first major renovation. That will be part of the capital spending plan from last year. In terms of 4% funds, I am thrilled to say that just yesterday we received notice that we did receive $2 million for the library collection in this 4% fund allocation. So my hope is that this is the end of calendar year 24 before we end fiscal year 25. I'm hoping for another $2 million, and I don't know how many more people I could tell, but I think that they know that that we really, in order for us just to maintain what we're doing, that is our major product, and so we need to make sure that that's funded at the appropriate levels. So the other thing I really wanted to bring you up to date on is Maine parking. I know that we've talked about this for many years, and in October, I was informed that the free shuttle service from Nissan Stadium to the main library for 74 employees that did ride the shuttle, it would end on October the 28th. This is due to the construction at the Nissan Stadium. So in working with Kristen Wilson from the mayor's office and Diana Alarcon from NDOT, the money allocated for the shuttle service from Nissan to the library, it allows us to be able to have these staff members park on the 5th floor or above at the parking garage at no cost to them. So the shuttle money is covering for them to be able to park until the end of this fiscal year on June the 30th. So in the meantime, I've talked with Kristen and Diana, and what we're looking to do is to move the $144,000 that is used for the shuttle service, which will no longer, with the construction at the stadium, be an option. And we receive money, $50,000 for parking at Main for Main staff on the weekend. We're going to combine those. That gives us $194,000. And what we will do with that is we are creating a parking plan for FY26 for all staff, not just the 74, for all staff who work at the main library. And while the parking will not be free, we will offer a tiered payment option based on staff positions. So once we finalize the plan, we will present it to the staff. Susan is working on 3 different scenarios, and we've at least twice met at the leadership, the core admin team to discuss this. Susan, did I forget anything? And thank her for her work, because that we have a number of people that are already paying for parking here at Maine, and we had 50 staff that we didn't really know what they were doing. Some people are taking the bus, and so we have everybody's name on the list should they choose to participate in this.
The only thing that we've been told is the only free option that we'll have going forward is the bus, because that is offered to all Metro employees.
Thank you for that. I forgot. Okay. Any questions about parking?
Would you do this, they would all be parking here?
They would have the option, yes.
They would have the option.
Yep. So, and it will be at a really, the tiered system. With this funding, we can't give everything for free, but the reality is it takes it from, if you park on the fifth level or above in the parking garage, it's $135. So this gets it down, a month, yes, a month. And then this gets it down to starting at, and again, we haven't finished this, but it's around $35 and then goes up. So, and there'll be a lower amount for part-time staff, but we need to make sure that we have everything in place, and so that we can actually, and we met with finance for our mid-year review, and they seem to think that it won't be an issue in terms of, yes, it will have to be approved to move it over to us, but since it's already allocated, it'll be easier.
How does this
Can I ask-
compare to the other departments in the city? I mean, do they have this option? What do they offer employees?
So, to be honest, and Kyle Cook may know more than that, because he met with Diana. My understanding is that there is not any department that downtown that offers free parking for employees, but I don't know that for sure. So,
Unless it's somewhere like the Metro office building or the Howard office building, where
Howard.
there's a parking garage for employees. But
Can I ask a question about the impact of those additional people parking on library patrons? Because the parking garage there's pressure there often now.
So this plan is, if staff choose to go with it, they would have to park on the 5th floor or above. So that's the new parking
But I
structure.
park, there's many times when you park up there, so it's not, I mean, that's a part of the parking.
Patrons.
So anyway, that has some impact possibly.
It could.
it depends too on the number of staff that choose to participate. It also, the reality is that isn't the library parking. So we also can't control the number of events and things that happen. And we always know that Tuesdays is more difficult because we have our wishing chair productions that has their programs. But
I'm a little bit curious. What about security? How is that going to function?
What do you mean?
Like, what with the garage?
So the library garage is named the library garage, but the library has nothing to do with the garage.
Okay.
But there is
So-
security.
There is
In
security
place.
in place. It's hired by the Downtown Partnership, and they patrol it regularly, but the library has nothing to do with the garage.
Okay.
okay, and Any other questions about parking?
I'm sorry for the movement. Before we had on my phone, people are watching. Someone was saying that they couldn't hear sound. So people are watching. I don't know who it was because the caller was not identified, but people are watching. So I think we fixed that.
I was, and sorry if you stated this and I missed it, the $35, where exactly did the number come from? Is there,
Well, first of all, we haven't settled on a definite number yet.
okay,
But we were looking at classifications, so it's a tiered system based on the classification that you're in.
okay.
So it could be as low as, but it could be higher than.
It definitely is.
It's all depending on if the money actually comes. If the money doesn't actually come, that throws a big monkey wrench into everything. So that's why we're not saying any definite terms yet, because we just don't know.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay. The last thing I wanted to say is congratulations to Suzanne Robinson. She is the library manager at Inglewood, and the Inglewood Neighborhood Association awarded Suzanne their annual Paul Blankenship Award. This award is given each year to an individual who has made significant contributions to the Inglewood/East Nashville community. So congratulations, Suzanne, and just wanted to share that with you. The last thing I'll say is just thank you to each of you. As we close the calendar year, I just want to thank you for everything that you do to support Nashville Public Library, and I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday.
Thank you, Terry, for all of your work. And we know that Terry's scheduled for surgery tomorrow. She scheduled it so she could be at this meeting. But we just want to thank you, and you will be in, how does it go? You'll be in our thoughts and prayers tomorrow, definitely.
I will take them all.
Surgery. And would you tell somebody to call us, not call us or text us, just a little email to say that you're home and you're good. That's
Yes.
all we want to know.
Yes. So Sean asked for my husband's phone number, so he will let Sean know, and then that can be distributed. But thank you all. Yeah, I think.
Meanwhile, I'm sure I speak for everybody, says anything we can do for the whole staff, if there's anything, we're here. That's why we're here.
Well, fortunately, I can have this done because I have a really good staff that can manage the library while I'm not here. So Susan will be the person in charge. So, anyways.
Thank you. Well, just let us know.
Got you on speed
Just a little
dial.
note, and then we'll breathe a sigh of relief after that. So thank you so much, Terry. Sean.
Couple updates. We had a very exciting November. So we had our gala, and appreciate all of you who participated and were a part of that. This was our 20th gala, and so we put together a book of 20 impacts and our 20 awards. So the 20 authors and then 20 different impacts that the library has achieved over the time, and particularly programs that the foundation funds. If you didn't get one, or if you want a second one, feel free to take one of those. We were able to net over $600,000, which means we met our goal, and that is wonderful because that's unrestricted support that we're able to have for the library. Joyce also mentioned the Begin Bright Leadership event, so just wanted to also add my appreciation for all of you who were able to come out and be a part of that. It was wonderful to have you there. Since then, there's been several press releases that have gone out. The first announcing the Dolly gift of $4.5 million, the second one announcing that we are 85% to our initial goal, and that includes a $5 million gift from the Frist Foundation. So if you remember, we had originally said our goal is 20 million. Now that we're in it, we're adjusting to say that's our initial goal. And the good news is, I think we were really nervous to say more than 20 million because we've never raised anything close to that. So as we're working more closely with the library and looking at expenses and wanting to make sure that we have enough of an endowment to sustain this, and so we're not draining any other programs, or really our fundraising efforts can be focused on other programs. We are going to be shooting for a bigger endowment than 13 million. And we see we see a path there. We are currently at 17.2 million. And so it's been great. Big kudos to Katie Varney, who's leading the fundraising effort.
Did you say leading or leaving?
Leading. Let me make that very clear. And then we have a great team as well of people who are volunteers helping us. It's called our steering committee, helping us with this. More to come on that. And really, I think I maybe mentioned this last time, but just want to say it again. When we as the page turns in the calendar, we will be shifting more to a lot of the messages coming from the library team on this. We've wanted to get it out there and make sure in terms of fundraising, but really now a lot of the work has been done and will continue to be done by the library as they continue. So I imagine at an upcoming board meeting, you'll hear more on the programmatic side, not just the fundraising side.
Linda was ready to do the update today, but then when we looked at the agenda, we thought it would be better to make sure she had enough time next month to be able to do that.
If you have your calendars out, want you to save the date. Our picnic with the library will be April 27th. And we have some exciting co-chairs this year. Haley and Barton Simmons, you might recognize the last name, are one of our co-chair couples, as well as Libba and Neil Aldine and Lillian Blackshear and Clinton Pay. So we're excited to have that group.
When is it? April?
April 27th.
Well.
4, wow, look at you, 4 to 7.
It's always later than it is.
Yeah, 4 to
We have a
7.
new baby to bring to the picnic.
All ages. So beginning to get the plans in place for that. Also, many of you have helped us in recruiting people for our upcoming tours. Tomorrow we have our Black Women in Leadership Tour. Over 50 people have signed up for that one. We're excited about that. Next week we have our Library 101 tour, and we have 36 people signed up for that one. We were thinking December would be hard to get people out, but I think people are looking for something to do in December. So again, that's just a great introduction. So if you want someone to know a little bit more about the library, in an hour and 15 minutes, we try to kind of walk through as fast as we can and see just some of the highlights of what is happening here at Maine, but then we talk about programs that are taking place out in the community. So keep that in mind. And I think that's it, unless there's questions.
Thank you. It's a lot. Any questions for Sean? Comments? Okay, Gina. Well, no, the library retreat. I'm sorry.
Poor Jenna.
Jenna's like, oh, okay.
I'll go when ready, when asked.
I'm wondering, do you want to end with the retreat? Because let's end with that. I think it'd be better.
You have to
Because
vote
we
on
need to,
this.
we need to make sure that we need the end time to make sure that we kind of, some people voted at the end. I think they finally got yours, Keith, because it was on a different kind of computer and it wouldn't download. But we want to talk about the priorities and kind of number them. So I think it's better to end with that. So Jenna, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay.
So we're looking at a new policy, the anti-bullying policy, which,
Page 85.
page 85, thank you. So the mayor's office asked us, as an educational facility serving youth, if we had an anti-bullying policy in place. And while we have it covered in our code of conduct, which you can see on page 87 in the middle there, it is listed on our code of conduct. We did not have anything that really defined what bullying and harassment was. So we created this policy with advice from our legal team here on the definitions of harassment and bullying, and just so that we could provide further clarity on what it is. This policy is directed at the customers and people coming in who may harass, whether it's other customers or volunteers or staff. This is not directed at staff. If there are any incidents of staff bullying or harassing, that is covered under our civil service rules. So we wanted to make sure also that the staff and volunteers were covered by this policy due to the current environment and for safety reasons, so that it wasn't just about the public, but also about our staff as well. This policy points back to our code of conduct and how we address bullying, and it is the responsibility of the manager or person in charge to investigate or look into situations as they arise, and then to address it with our code of conduct, which could bring a 30 to 90-day suspension from library services. That's mostly what this policy is about.
So how often are there instances that would be considered bullying and harassment?
I don't know that we have those statistics. We do keep reports, but it's never been actually like, and we classify different violations, but we've never actually kept statistics on bullying or harassment, so I don't have those numbers. But I can say that staff in particular have reported that they feel that there's been a rise in it.
Mm-hmm. How do we connect I think the resolution is great, but back to the punishments. Mm-hmm. So that's not outlined here. So I'm just asking what if it happens and somebody says, well, okay, I did that, but that doesn't, the resolution doesn't tell me that I'm going to get in trouble for it, other than I can't do it.
Our patron rules of conduct tell you you'll get in trouble for it. And that's why it refers back to that.
Yeah, all right.
Are those posted? Mm-hmm. Where are they posted?
At every branch.
Yeah, well, and as you walk in.
It's actually on the website too.
Again, on the website.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you for that question.
So if we adopt what's on page 85 and 86, that supersedes what's on page 87, is that?
It augments it.
Yeah,
It just augments it.
Correct, it augments it.
It defines,
Well, yeah, but aren't you saying the same thing?
Adopting the resolution is on page 88.
I think what we're adopting is on page 88, isn't it?
Adopt is on page.
You're adopting the policy, which is on 85 and 86, right? And then,
87 starts the
well, I'd
resolution.
have to read
Yeah.
87. Well, this number 17 here is that's what's already there,
That's
right?
what already exists in the code of conduct, correct?
And it will stay because it's in the code of conduct.
Well, in reading this, it seemed like what was on 85 and 86 was also part of what's on page 87. I'd have to go back and I mean, let's don't say the same thing twice in a different way. That's not,
I think it's just defining it more.
okay, well, okay.
Because right now, our code of conduct says intentionally engaging in harassing or threatening behavior towards patrons is not allowed. But it really doesn't.
This is in the code of conduct.
That's in the code of
17
conduct.
is.
But it doesn't really say what is harassment, what is bullying. So this policy helps define what that
The
is.
common types of bullying.
Yeah.
So how do we let the employees know that how is this communicated
question.
with staff?
So tomorrow, or even after this, I wanted to wait till after you all voted on the policy, and then we have an email ready to go out to the staff this afternoon to let them know, in addition to committing to them about intellectual freedom as part of it.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying any other questions.
I just wanted to confirm, I know that you clarified the relationship between volunteers, patrons, and staff, or users, volunteers, and staff, but really the relationship is across the three and not staff to staff. Is there any clarity, any plan for clarity on that? Because to leave it just as staff could also be interpreted as though if I'm having an issue with staff, that this is a part of it. Does that make sense?
From staff to staff is defined in the Metro Civil Service rules. So this does not cover any staff to staff. Those already
customer.
exist in Metro Service.
Right, if it were staff to staff, that would be handled with
Civil
civil service policy and rules.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that on page 87, that doesn't necessarily clarify that in the first sentence. It just says users, volunteers, and staff, which you can assume staff is universal to all staff. You know what I mean?
So they're not.
It's just not clear that it's not staff on staff. It just says
And that's just the history of this policy. In the
That doesn't matter.
In the actual policy, it does say, I've got to find it quickly. It does say.
We do address that in the policy.
yeah,
Okay,
That
okay.
it goes to, oh my goodness, I can't remember.
Is it the
First line.
Is it right there? I'm looking right past it. Okay, this policy applies to the public use of the library. Any personnel-related issues are managed through
That's it.
human resources.
Okay, that's
Perfect.
it.
Via civil service.
Thank you, thank you. Anything else?
I don't know why I'm hung up on this, but, you know, if it were me and I were drafting this, I would say in the, whatever, patron rules of conduct, I'd take 17 out and say that, and then refer to bullying, harassment, and retaliation as defined in the anti-bullying policy, so that there's no confusion.
And we can do that. I would have to bring that, because that is a policy, we would have to bring that back before the code of conduct, we would have to bring back before the vote, before the board to
Before,
vote on
right.
that addition.
Right, well, I'm not, what I'd do is fine with me. And you've got legal counsel working on this, so I'm not going to impose my
You wanna
armchair
comment at all?
lawyering.
Well, that's it. Okay. Okay.
When I worked on the actual policy, I didn't analyze it in conjunction with the code of conduct. So if the board wishes, I can go back and make applicable changes to the code of conduct. But as staff mentioned, any changes to the code of conduct would also need to come back to this board. But whatever the board wants for clarity, I'm more than willing to support.
Pleasure, yeah.
Well, why don't you look at it and then make a recommendation as to what you want to do. If you want to bring it back, that's fine with me. I think it's probably fine with other people. I just don't want there to be ambiguity created because you're really defining this in two different places.
Is there
But
time?
would that prevent us from going ahead and voting on it today so that the
think
email
so.
that you've got can go ahead and
You
go out?
can certainly vote on the
Yeah,
anti-bullying policy. seems
And I
like
think
to me.
that's what needs to happen. This has to be approved
That- right,
before we would bring back
exactly,
the code of conduct.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for approval. then.
So moved.
Yeah. Second.
Kate, second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
And
say-
so will the revised version or the final
back
version
next
be
time.
in the minutes? Or when will we see that, just to know where we landed?
The revised version of the code of conduct that references the anti-bullying policy, it will have to come back. I'll put a draft together and work with staff and put a draft together, and that will come back before
Okay, great.
this body.
Thank you.
Or not, as you decide. I
Right.
mean, you're our legal counsel. I trust
It's
you.
always great to reference outside policies if it's applicable to another policy, so I think that's a great recommendation, sir.
Always compliment board members. They love it.
Okay, we have a motion on the
I'm learning
floor.
very well from Macy, so.
We have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so let's go to the summary. And I asked Terry, could we put this on the screen? I know the board members all received a copy, but I know there are a lot of staff people who are looking at this and they're, well, what did they spend a whole day talking about? You know, and why would they want to do that? We went to the Beeman Center. It was a public park.
Yeah.
But it was a very relaxing environment, and again, we were led by Dr. Ed McGee, who often does this work, and who donated a lot of this. I don't think we could have paid him, you know, for what he did with us. And it was interesting because on a Sunday morning, Terry and I got this summary. And I said, he's working on a Sunday morning. We just met on Friday, and he worked to put this together and sent us the summary. And I think Terry and I just made some corrections because, you know, he wouldn't have known how the internal library, you know, worked. But I wanted to put this up so that people would know. So, wait a minute, they gave me
Oh, there's the clicker.
yeah, the clicker. Uh-huh. You gave it to me. Yeah, uh-huh. So what we did was, what'd I do? There you
There it
go.
goes.
Okay, oh, lock got it, and then you can't see it.
No, that's okay, but you were going to go to the strings. I mean, they'll need to see it for the strings.
But we started out by just telling our stories, you know, how we got connected with the library, and Ed told amazing story too. You can see pictures of him as a little boy and how he developed as a child, how the library strengthened him and gave him a foundation for doing what he did. So everybody's story is there, and this will be official publication too,
It's
and
in-
people will know how we got connected, how we all got connected to the library. And then he took us through a there we go. He took us through a case for change exercise. So we looked at all of the factors that were impacting the library. We looked nationally, regionally, you know, Tennessee, and then locally, and talked about all of how we are, you know, what changes, what's going on around us, and listed all of those things. And then we saw things that we identified as trends. What? Is it the battery, you think?
The distance from the screen.
There we go. Getting arm exercise here. So we thought that what was affecting us is everything involving book bans and censorship in the country. We know that we're in a change in administration, so anything involving what's going to happen in education, you know, and again, there's no defining it right now. We just didn't know. but we know that it's a trend. We looked at disparities of what's going on in education between men and women with minorities. We discussed the leadership gender balance, here potential changes to DOE. What impact has COVID had on the library long-term and on the country is how it will affect us. And then spending. We don't know what's going to happen with federal and state funding. And as privatization increases with education, how will that impact a lot of the youth that we serve that are going to public schools? So we talked about all of that. And let's see, can we get this to cooperate now again? Okay, there we go. Wait a minute, did I miss?
You went one.
I went
too
one
far.
further. Okay. So operationally, looked like, so in a post-COVID world, a lot of people are coming to the library to meet again. We're open for business again. But COVID did impact mental health and well-being of people. We're seeing that in the universities too. I mean, it is amazing what we're seeing. There's a lot more homelessness because rent has been rising. And as we just talked about with this anti-bullying policy, staff has seen more bullying, immigration services. We know that our community, immigrant community, is growing here in Nashville. What do? We looked at AI and technology, and then how to simplify communication in the city. And that we want really the library to be a place of belonging for people. So how do we operate with all of that in mind? Okay. Thank you, background music. So tactically, what would we need to be looking at? Well, we're 21 sites, but the population is growing in Nashville. So what do we do? To reach that capacity, do we need to start thinking about expanded facilities and we know all of this needs funding, but we are just putting it out there. And then transportation access. We know that there transportation, I think when we met, had that passed already? I think so. That had passed already. But we talked about how that would affect us to get people to the library. And then all of these companies that are moving to Nashville. How does that going to be impacting us, and tactically, what do we need to do? As more people move into our community, the need to have staff that speak languages of different people. And then we looked at the entertainment industry and how do we leverage the library to connect with all of the entertainment industries to expand our outreach. I mean, it could be a resource for the library. How do we do that? And then the supportive, we feel that we are really in a supportive environment. And it's not just with the current mayor. It's been successive mayors that have really supported the library. That is not happening everywhere, in the country. And then these were our key takeaways. That we are in a very unique position in the city. We're at the intersection of education, technology, and well-being, and that we talked about we need to have a case for change, but it would be based on a strategic foresight, operational adaptability, and tactical focus to ensure that we remain vital, a resource for everybody. And a reminder here that we know we have books, but we're just not about books. It's about people, progress, and possibility. So we did a lot of work here, and then we did a SWOT analysis, and we're gonna go into that further a little bit here at the end. Strengths, weaknesses, and when we said weaknesses, we were looking at internal weaknesses in the library, looking at what our opportunities might be, and looking at what our threats might be, and ended up with key takeaways that would be, our key takeaways were that this is one of the places in the city where there's equity. Anybody can come to the library, and we make sure that any citizen, we have to keep making sure that every citizen has access to the library. That the public trusts the library, and so that's an asset for us to go forward to help with any education, cultural things that we need to do, and civic engagement. We need to be that place. But we have staffing challenges. If we're going to keep doing all of this, we have to figure out how do we make demands on staff when we don't have all the staff to do what we need to do. That really means that we have to prioritize. And we are at capacity in a lot of our facilities, and we have to acknowledge that, and how does that limit our ability to serve? And then everything is happening digitally, so how do we bridge the digital divide and keep up with what's going on, but to also keep our customers up? Because that means quick learning curve for our customers and our staff. And we want to position the library as a hub for workforce training and career sources too, because that serves the city, and we're the place of education. So if we can, this doesn't mean that we have to do it ourselves. What that means is, how do we partner with entities in the city who are doing workforce development, or the government, to make sure that our citizens are taken care of, and that happens at the library, so they can get jobs, that we're a resource for that. And then we looked at, again, key takeaway was the pressure to ban books and restrict access to information. And funding is uncertain. You know, I'm happy to sign what we have with the state, but I know that last week we learned about a loss of some funds, because priorities are shifting for the state. So, you know, we have to, and we love the fact that we have the foundation, you know, but some of the state funding, we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen with federal funding. So we put that down there. And we came up with, you know, my priorities were NPL. You know, how do we normalize usage of the library? Have every citizen in Nashville thinking, where do I go to get something? I go to the library. And we do a plan. It's imperative that we do a plan to then service, so that we continue to make it happen that everybody can use the library. We have to plan for that. And again, it doesn't mean that we have to do the service exclusively with staff from the library. It means that we connect. It's not a top-down thing. It's how I was thinking circles. You know, this agency does this agency does that. But how do we connect with the people doing what the library wants to do to maximize all of that for the city? And then leadership. We're very concerned about the leadership and creating a pipeline for leadership and developing that, so that leadership at the library looks like the population of the city. And we clarified that, went down further to have a discussion on that, to make it clear that, you know, we want to invest in people at the library. The talent, I mean, library staff are magnificent, and the board has to be here to support that staff. And we looked at the levels, you know, library assistant, of the managers up through the director's role, and we know that we need to invest in salaries, but it's not only salaries. How do we keep you up to date with on-the-job training? And then we want you to be as innovative as possible, but we know we have to make that possible. We had some grants mentioned, talked about mentoring. We looked at conflict management within the library, and know that just because we're paying salaries, we don't see that as a cost. We see that as an asset, and how we develop that. And that we had a lot of discussion on removing the library director ambiguity. You know, we were cognizant of the fact that we have we have not named that position permanently. So we had a lot of discussion on that. And then library trends, access technology, workforce development. People are seeing us like community centers. Early childhood literacy, Begin Bright. We know that as misinformation spreads, it's going to be very important for the library to become the place where people come to have access to critical thinking resources. AI, we know we're getting into a dangerous period of AI, but also it's an asset. So how do we look at how the library uses AI as an asset, but also guard against the danger that it could present to the library? How do we continue to connect the library with lifelong learning? And then post-pandemic shift, we realize that a lot of people are staying home to do learning. So how do we feed people who want to stay at home? And when I say feed, I mean intellectually feed people who want to stay home. Terry gave an excellent report here. Oh, I hope I didn't do it a second time. Excess report. Some of the same things that we said in the board discussion about how do we continue to work in a digital post-pandemic world. Here. Meet people where they are. It might be at the branch, it might be online, but it might be other places in the community. We know, for example, the librarians are already going to the schools and to other locations. So they don't necessarily need to come to us. We take them to them like we'll be doing in Begin Bright. We're going into the child care centers where the kids are. And we're not just a place for books, we're a hub for economic power in the city. And we ended with all of these comments. We have to remove uncertainty around the library director role. How do we explore other community collaborations? We talked about connecting with business schools, law schools, consulting projects with the schools to do some of the work that we need to get done in the library. How can we take advantage of all of the higher educational institutions we have in the city, much like we're doing with Vanderbilt to the research on the Begin Bright program. How do we involve other universities to get the work done? We want to continue a proactive engagement with the union. How do we work effectively on sharing all of the union concerns? Looking at capital and spending needs over the next 5 years. Make sure that everything that we're doing, we have a business case model to do it. That we look at key funding priorities. We know that there's a problem with collections. We know that there's a problem with people buying online books. How do we compete with things like that? And then the library director discussion is continuous improvement initiative has been well received with the staff. Especially, we were just thrilled that we had so many employees respond to that survey. Those were big numbers. That we build listening as a superpower. The board wants to continue to be listening, make sure that we're keen listening, and to build trust not only with the employees, the foundation, but with all of our constituents. That we focus on the library patrons and staying true to our mission, be transparent, and what's this, off-site as a leadership demonstration? I don't remember what we meant by that. Anyway. And then some of this, at the end of the day, we just assessed about what do we think, but I think, who said off-site was the best ever? Mic drop, end of discussion. It was just a very, very productive day. So we want to share that so that it's in the record, all of the things that we discussed that day. And let's go back now to, going back is faster. Going back now to the SWOT analysis. So we said that strengths were, what we want to do, what we want as an outcome of this, I want to say we do it in 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
I think we better do 5, because we only have 15 left.
Okay,
and-
let's just look at it, and you all have copies? I'm thinking, can I propose this? If we go down the list, I know 2 people gave comments. We want everybody to do it today. We know Rosalind is not here, and we can get her information. She's traveling. But if we end the day with where we are, for example, under strengths, we have 11 items here. We have a space between community and relationships, but I counted 11 items. So if we would want to look at from 1, on a scale of 1 to 10 for each item, well, 11 here, I'm sorry. What would you consider the most important? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure I misunderstood the instructions, because I have been doing that since 1st grade. But I thought we were, and I did do what I was supposed to do, but I didn't send it back in. But I thought we were just asked to do 1 through 4.
Let me look
To
at
do
that.
our top 4, and that's what
Let me
the
look. I
worksheet
might be
here
wrong.
shows, and you'll see it, Joyce, in the packet.
Here it is. Well, maybe I was wrong. Look, this says, please take each category rank from 1 through 12.
Well,
One
in
is
the,
the most
what was
important,
sent, what he
12 is the
sent in
least
the thing
important.
showed to do 1 through 4, because I've got it.
I think that, now you all, and I'm thinking about it as an old teacher now. To put in your top 4
this
would
was what
really
was
show, okay.
put in the packet, so I thought we had a discussion, do we all do all 12, or do we do 1 through 4? And then with the idea being that, and the reason we were supposed to put it in beforehand, and didn't, so I can talk about it,
Me too.
is that you can then, it's easier to rank 4 than it is to rank 12.
Yeah.
So you can see where the commonalities are, but I don't know if,
We want to do that, because this is conflicting. This says rank 1 through 12. 1 is the most important, 12 is the least important. And then rank 7 weaknesses, 9 opportunities, and threats. But I think, let's have the discussion.
So
ranking 4 or 5, our 5 most important things, 4 most important
Expert right
things
there.
would be, that one
Yeah,
of
I'm
you,
okay.
there you go, our expert.
I'm okay with ranking the top 4 to 5 and then just kind of going from there
Okay.
to see if there's alignment.
Yeah, for those of us who did the 11, we've effectively done the top 4 or 5.
yeah, you've already done
So-
it.
Yeah.
For those of
I
us who
think
are
our
just way
top
too
5.
busy.
Yeah, really.
I think in a report, what do you all think about our top 5?
Me.
And then remember that 1 is your most important
1 is our most important.
of the 5.
And I've done mine too. So if you would just look at those to say which are the 5 most important strengths, 1 being your most important, and each of us has a sheet to look at those. And I'll just give your mine to you.
And then what are we going to do? How do we aggregate it?
The office will
Turn it in.
give us back, we'll turn it in. And I
Guess we
have
didn't
mine
do
right
anything else
before you
unless
take the most
We're
important.
gonna change our mind, which I've looked at mine now.
Yeah,
I
you
do
can
wanna
change your
change mine.
mind.
That's why everybody has a
But every
fresh
time I
Oh,
sheet.
look
I
at
didn't
it,
see
I'm gonna
that.
change
No
my mind.
wonder I have 2 sheets,
But
okay.
does it make sense to also talk about why we prioritized it the way that we prioritized it? Because I think our context influences
Okay.
how we prioritize the
Okay,
greatest
and I'm
need.
looking to you as the expert on this, because I don't really want it to be a group think thing either.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we guard against doing group thinking. So if we could, maybe, what do you all, I propose this, let's rank our top 5, and then you tell us why? Okay? That wouldn't be group think. Okay?
Are we, every person doing it on each one?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I've already done it in paper, but are we going to talk through it in 5 minutes?
Just tell it, huh? Okay.
Anyway,
Let's
but-
just see.
well-
Let's just go through it and then we'll see. Okay, so your the strengths, what do you think of the top 5?
You want me to start? Who wants to start?
We're gonna do all 4 weaknesses, and then we'll go through. Then that way we'll already have it. So weaknesses, what are your top 5? Has everybody done it already? Or
Yeah.
you just doing yours? Nadine is doing her.
Jarvis is here, so I don't know. Oh, he just, I think maybe went to the restroom.
Okay.
Because his phone and everything is still there.
And then same with opportunities and threats. What are your top 5? Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're the chair,
Uh-huh.
and so we're, but I have a thought that, and this is, and everybody may disagree, so feel free to say so. In some ways, we did the SWOT, and then we had a full discussion of the SWOT. And what ended up in that full discussion of the SWOT was what is on this page that says Board Foundation Working Session, Ed and Joyce. And this is where, off the top of our head, after finishing the SWOT, what we thought were the priorities. And I'm wondering, given the limited time, if everybody would go through the process of filling this out. We give this back to staff. Staff rates it, and we, at the next meeting, get to look at where we are. But should we today discuss those things that day, we ended the day by saying, this is the most important? And I don't know how many bullets there are here. One, two. It looks like 7 bullets, but you know what I mean? Just if we have to, I'm afraid we're going to lose people.
I want to make sure we have the written documents. So if you all just pass those to Terry. Do we have to put names on them?
It's up to you.
I don't care. People know what
Oh,
I
I'm
think.
I'll show you what we.
So I'll put my name on mine. Okay.
You already got mine, right, Terry?
But, yes,
We did.
So that
go
simplifies
through
it.
these.
if you want to give it to me, that way I'll have it.
Put 1 through 5.
Thank
They're
you,
11
Kate.
and 3.
So-
Choose the top
Oh, no.
5. And with one
No,
being
this is the empty one. That
that's the
one's
most important.
got
your comments?
Oh, there are your numbers, I see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is, and then I'll give this to Terry.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have those. So we've got 5 minutes now to discuss your thinking on the session. So that I can put it back on the screen.
1 is the highest, and 5 is, I mean, they're
1
all
to 5,
important.
1
We
is
wouldn't
the
have
highest.
talked about them if they weren't, but
This is really,
Yes, I agree, it is.
this is, I can't do it anymore.
well, you've got it.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Now, it just popped up. Okay.
this was our off the, closing day distillation of the SWOT and all our work that day. And so
That's it.
I wonder if we could take 5 minutes just for everybody to look at these and note what seems the most important.
So let's
Yeah,
look
this
at
list.
Where is that
Which
list?
starts, it's
It's
on the
on-
last, it's not on, so here's,
They don't have this, Katie, everybody.
I know, I mean, I happen to print mine, but it's
I've
here,
learned to.
which is
So
what you
it's
put
on
up.
the screen here. So in, we talk about removing uncertainty around the library director role, explore community collaborations, engage proactively with the union, detailed analysis of capital and operational spending needs for the next 5 years, explore funding opportunities and require a business case for each. Key funding priorities, we thought collections, buildings.
It's not in
And
there,
we
Kate.
had the library director discussion, the things that came out of Terry's report. So
Just as you
anybody
recall, I mean, I have
comments?
mine just because
Uh-huh. And I
I
have
printed
too.
it.
I have.
That's on page 17.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's
Here's,
in,
here's another.
Is it?
Thank you.
it's not in that format, but then,
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I hadn't looked at that. So it's in the minutes?
The board minutes,
It's in the
yeah.
board minutes. So any comments? What do you think? What should be priority? And
Yeah,
we're still
under
gonna
10.
tabulate, we're still gonna tabulate your priorities here and combine them with this.
I'm thinking, and I recognize we don't have time to go over each of our top 5 and within each category, but I do think that I would love to entertain the conversation of what do we directly have access to that poses the greatest threat. And there's been a few things that I think we have access to. For example, we don't have access to what the future funding look like, right? So maybe we prioritize that lower. But I'm wondering if greater threats such as what does the uncertainty of the library role or this director role, given that currently, how many months, Terry, have you been interim?
28.
So
28.
28 months. It's customary to have an interim anywhere between 6 months to 2 years. Should we have some questions, some inquiry, some research on what this looks like in any way, shape, or form?
I fully agree with your observation.
This came up 4 or 5 times. And so I want to inquire and push a little bit more to ask some technical questions based on research. How long has someone served as interim? At what point are you doing the role? Questions that I have. Other things that we could answer that jumped out to me as threats. I'm just wondering if we could answer some of those.
Okay.
Everything doesn't have to be left to chance.
Any other comments?
Well, I'll just weigh in and kind of echo what Nadine just said. And my recollection, and then in reading back everything to get prepared for today, the one issue that came up more than once. There are a lot of things that came up once, and there's some things that were echoed, that were said a couple of times, but nothing came up as often as remove uncertainty around library director role. And I think that was loud and clear in the discussion that day. And so I think the question is, what is the appropriate way to move forward to remove that uncertainty? If we all think that is a major issue.
And is that what you're suggesting we do research to understand what the appropriate steps are?
Steps, I mean, what is the landscape? What is the framework? Is this customary? What is if it's up to the board to appoint, what does that look like? And
Okay.
so getting some guidance and some questions answered.
Is that a legal issue?
I could do is, go ahead.
I would also bring up
Yeah.
legal. That's why I'm looking at a legal team for guidance.
And I was not your attorney when you did your
Process,
search,
yes.
but I've read the minutes and sort of reflected on how that process went down. I've talked to Shannon Hall from Metro HR. I've talked to your chair. So there are, there is a way to move forward, and I can talk to you about that further when it's on a board agenda.
Okay.
Or, if you want to call me individually, I'm happy to talk to you about the process.
Board agenda the next meeting then?
Let's put it as an item on there, and then meanwhile, you could help us with this. Could we get, that's a good question you had, could we get what's happening within Metro? Like, for example, the length of interims or something like that in Metro?
Sure.
And that would tell us, that would give us, because I'm thinking, who's gonna do all that research? And without a student intern, who's gonna do all that? If we could just compare for Metro, put it as an agenda item on the next agenda item, and put We'll work with you, and, because we
Okay.
have to publish the agenda anyway ahead of time, and then we'll send that out to everybody.
And I'll talk to Director Hall about what the typical length of time is like for an interim like you. I believe it is typically not this long.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And is that some, oh, sorry, can you share that, or would you share that with us before the next board meeting?
of course,
Because that might help us be productive.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
But we would put a notice of what we want to talk about and what we want to do on the agenda for
And
next
if you wanted an action item or something
Okay.
like that, yeah, we can talk through that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Keith?
I'm not sure length of time in other departments really has much to do with this. I mean, that sounds like we're creating an argument to be made to somebody about something. And if HR is okay with this and legal's okay with this, then we ought to just do it. I mean, if we've got to create an argument with either HR or legal or the mayor's office or whoever, let's figure out what the argument is. But if nobody's putting up a roadblock, let's just do it.
And you all do have that
vote
power.
on
I think
it.
we'll
mean,
just
if-
have the
if the
information
board- it's the
as
pleasure of the board not to
background.
do it,
Hold on,
okay.
our lawyer just said.
I just said, and you all do have that power, just not today, because it's
Well,
not
it's gotta
on.
be
It's not on the
Sure,
agenda.
right.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
So you're saying, I don't want to put you in a box, I've already put you in one today, that Metro Legal is okay with us putting it on the agenda next time and voting on it. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay.
I think the ordinance
That's all I
just
wanted to
says
know.
that we appoint the director,
No.
but we have to have it as an agenda item, but I really like this in terms of, we know what's happening around the rest of the city. Yeah.
Right. So Keith, I appreciate your leadership because you cut the fat. You want to know exactly what is within jurisdiction, and I so admire that. Before I jump into the decision-making part, I do want to understand the landscape. I think that's important. I think understanding context before, decisions are made permanently is just how I like to, navigate things. So I'm analytical, and I take that. So understanding the landscape first. And me understanding the landscape doesn't mean that I'm trying to form an argument. What I'm trying to do is understand what is the gravity, what is the context by which this exists. And that's outside of knowing that Terry's qualified, knowing that she's been doing the work 2+ years, right? So those things to me are separate. I want to understand history first before.
And I think as a board, this is very good because your thinking is different from Keith's thinking, which is why we're all here. As a diverse board, we all need different kinds of information to make a decision. And I think that it would be representative of the city with people who think differently. That's why we're on this board. So I beg your pardon?
Plus, if we get history,
Right.
data,
Yeah.
will add justification
Yeah.
when it comes to decision making. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So we'll take that and then put that as an agenda item at the next meeting. Any other discussion on the items here? It'd be priority other than remove uncertainty around the library director role. I think that's probably, looks like our
Well, are we
topic.
gonna, shouldn't we then keep this, either this list or some modification of this list in front of us at every meeting going forward? Are we gonna do that?
Yes, what we would like to, and again, we'll get back with our expert we're not paying, Ed, we'll get back with Ed too to talk about a format, for this, because we want to take that, develop it into priorities, and you see it's working alongside the staff and what they're doing, and put all of this together. I think we're going to come out with our top priorities.
Once you get the priorities, it's almost like you would need to apply color code them in my brain to short-term, medium-term, long-term, so that we know what to focus on.
And the staff will know what to focus on. Because we're just setting the priorities. It's up to the staff to determine how they are addressed.
Implementation.
We have to be very careful. We're board and policy, and staff are operational, so they have to determine how they put everything in operation. We just evaluate the director to say what happened. And timelines and all of that kind of thing.
Well, it just strikes me that, I think if you analyze this, maybe that there's some low-hanging fruit on here.
Yeah.
And then there's some stuff that,
Yeah.
honestly, we don't have any control over.
Right, exactly, exactly.
So, at the very least, if we think they're important, we ought to address the low-hanging fruit, like number one on the list.
Okay. Well, thank you all. We will put this together now. Staff will do an analysis, so we'll know what your priorities are. Thank you for the discussion today. Any other business? Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. Is the holiday ornament indicative of what our 3D printer can do at Nashville Public Library? No.
I did not look to see what was in the bag.
I don't
Never
even
mind, I
have
wish
one.
I hadn't asked that one.
Oh,
I don't have
that's
one.
beautiful. Thank you.
I didn't have time to do it before the meeting.
That's, thank you. It honors
Oh, did you
our
do
name
it? Is it a
on
3D printer thing? or
No,
something?
I just ordered them.
Probably Zazzle.
Because I thought they were really cool.
Say, I think they are too. Thank you all so much. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's no second.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
You all have a great holiday.
Thank you.
And then we look forward to hearing who makes the text.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.